Welcome to our first money budget monthly wrap up. I don't know what this is going to be called, but we are going through our January expenses, how we did compared to how we wanted to do, and looking ahead at February. I know this video is coming a little bit late in the month, but better late than never. If you're new here, hi, I'm Danielle. I make videos on navigating life as a first gen. So everything from how I'm managing my personal finances to my mental health and relationships. Right now, I'm on a journey to finding my next full-time job. And so I'm gonna share how we are budgeting. And I say that in quotations because we don't actually stick to a so-called traditional budget. But what we do is use the spending money method, which is taking what we are bringing in, subtracting our savings and our debts or whatever it is that we must pay for, and then getting what we're able to actually spend money on. Although, because we are both unemployed at the moment, we are not saving. So that is a big caveat to these videos. Hopefully the next time I do a monthly money reset, I will have landed a full-time job. But right now, that is how we're doing it. So I'm gonna share a little bit about what we did in January, then we're gonna go into what money goals we have for February. First, a little bit of cafecito. Let's get all cuddled up because we're gonna talk about dinero. We're gonna go into my personal finances to see how well we did. Let me give you a spoiler. January sucked. February is the month we're trying to do better. So let's get into it. I'm gonna share my screen so you can follow along with me. If you have your own money tracker that you use, if you have your own budget template that you use, open that up. I am using the Amigas Get Money Tracker. I will link it in the description, but this is the one that I created based on my needs, really. It also has a daily expense tracking section, but I no longer use that. I also use Copilot. I use Copilot, I use my spreadsheet, and I use Google Calendar, all for my money systems. So that is how I manage my money. There's 3 different apps, if one would say. Okay, January. Let's actually start with spending plan. How we, and I'm gonna hide this because I'm giving you a little preview before we get into it. But for January, we had a planned income of just my unemployment check. So that was $29.88. We actually got full $29.88, and I sold some wedding items on Facebook Marketplace for $50. Finally sold, I believe I sold the vases that we had used for our wedding. And I bought them for $70. So honestly, just happy to like get rid of the things that we didn't no longer need. I don't ever plan on using 46 vases. And so if I can give that to somebody else for their wedding, good for my pocket, good for the environment. Sinking funds. So I have this in here too. It's not income. It's just a sinking fund we took money out of this month to cover for our travel expense, specifically our Japan travel expense. So that is $1,200 and some change. So our must pays, we had planned obviously rent to be $300, and that stayed at $300. Bills, phone $89, it stayed at $89. For the internet, we had $62.77, that stayed at $62.77. Pet insurance, actually we had an amount here for pet insurance, I think it was $80. We brought it down to $0 moving forward because I am no longer going to be paying for pet insurance. I know it is a controversial thing. People are like, should we have pet insurance? Should we not have pet insurance? And I can see both arguments to it. I have been paying pet insurance for the last 8 years of my dog's life. I have never, not once, used the pet insurance, which is good. It's good. I'm glad we haven't had to use it. But I've gotten to this point where I'm like, it doesn't feel like it's worth continuing to pay for this insurance when I feel like she gets her regular shots, she goes to the vet, she's healthy, and granted, she is 8 years old and she's only going to become more unhealthy as she ages, but I hope that through a sinking fund, we can cover any expenses that pet insurance would have covered for us. Now, the other side to it, and it's funny because I live with my mother-in-law, I live with my stepdad-in-law, and they have a dog, right? And that dog has pet insurance and also has a lot of medical complications. So for the last probably 3-4 years of the dog's life, Ziggy has been going in and out of the vet just with health issues. And so their health insurance, their pet insurance has come in handy so many times because Ziggy has had a lot of complications. And so if my dog, Charlotte, was visiting the vet as much as Ziggy, then I would easily justify the pet insurance. But Charlotte, knock on wood, has been super healthy, and I hope that she continues to be moving forward. So that is $10 for this month, because when I got the bill, I quickly made the decision, you know what, this isn't something I want to continue paying for, but it was a prorated refund that they gave me. Health insurance, $822. Yep, that's what we pay for health insurance for 2 adults in America who are unemployed. Still paying that, so that was pretty accurate. The medication, we have Humira. Ari has Crohn's disease. I think moving forward, we'll probably take this out of our must pays because it changes every month. Like sometimes it's $5, sometimes it's $10. So honestly, I think we're just gonna take this out of our must pays. We decided to sign up for dental this month, and this dental payment of $47 is for the month of February. So we have dental insurance now. So if you really think about it, that health insurance is just like medical. I guess dental is also medical, but the health insurance is just like doctor's visits and all that stuff, where the dental is for all things dental. So we actually pay about $870 something for all of our health insurance. But I thought dental was an important thing for us to have, so we decided on that for the month of February. Now, looking at our subscriptions, we have Spotify that we pay for, and now we added my little sister to our plan. So we have one more person to add to our plan to really like justify this expense. But honestly, I think we have just been using it. They give you like the family plan for up to like 5 people or something, and we haven't been using it to a max. So I like that we've added somebody else who can take advantage of it instead of having my little sister also pay for her own subscription. Apple storage, again, those were pretty much the same as expected, as planned, and that's what happens with must pays, is they usually stay the same. Now, we have the Peloton here. That also stayed the same, and you'll see in our February planning, we have a point about looking into that membership. Google, I don't know what happened here, but I didn't see it come up, so I don't even know what I think this is extra storage. And then Netflix, it's stayed the same because that was just what it was expected to be. And we have a miscellaneous category here. So this one was a must pay because it was a subscription that came up that I didn't expect to have to pay for. I had accidentally signed up for a Zazzle membership to get like free shipping for our thank you cards, and I didn't see the I didn't know, and I forgot because I didn't put it on my calendar to remind myself to cancel the subscription. So they charged me the $19.95 for the year, and unfortunately they said it was not refundable, but that they could give me a credit. So I have a $19 store credit at Zazzle. I don't know when I'm gonna use it, but I have it. So for the total must pays, we're pretty much just over that $20 that I did not expect. Spending money, we had anticipated about 15, not including the sinking funds, but after we included the sinking funds, we were at 28 for our spending available. Again, I hid all of the savings because we are not saving right now. We are more concerned about getting the job getting the full-time job than we are about thinking about how to save the money that we're getting from unemployment, if that makes any sense. So there are no actual savings goals. There's just kind of money things we want to keep on check, which you'll see in February. So spending money. Wow, this was a shocker. And for this, I think I am going to give you an overview here, and then we're going to go into like the details of like what those big expenses came up to be. So almost every category was over budget. We had transportation at $250. We actually spent $474. Food, $700. We spent over $800. Personal care actually was under. So one great category, medical care and health care. And health, we did not, I don't know what happened here, but we were way over. Shopping, didn't expect to get any shopping. We had zero, actually $250, almost $250. Gifting, only $50. Yeah, okay, almost $200. Entertainment, under. Housing, nothing. Travel, way over. But when we go into the January, you'll see why. And then pet, zero, and miscellaneous is like, what happened here? So let's go into what the month actually looked like. So for every month, I have a money diary category where we look ahead and we look back. So our looking ahead, we knew what might impact our savings goals was a trip we were taking to Denver, right? We also had 4 birthdays in January. We wanted to challenge our spending. We wanted to really get our groceries down to $500, just the groceries. I didn't do a good job at like calculating what was groceries and eating out. So I think moving forward, we're gonna have 2 separate categories for that. And then which value do you want to spend and focus? Which value do you want to focus on in your spending? Spending time with loved ones without spending money. I think that was like our big thing for January. Now, when we look back at the month, what happened? So where did I spend money that I wasn't expecting to? I completely missed the fact that my Squarespace subscription was renewing. It should say subscription, not membership, was renewing. So to just have the firstgenmoney.com site up and functioning, I have to renew it every year, and I totally missed that it's in January. So that was something I didn't expect. And what are your month's money wins? Surprisingly, it is food. So we didn't spend as much eating out. We could bring it down, and there's room for improvement, but it's still a lot less than what we had last month. Some action items we had at the beginning of the month was to call Amex and ask for a waiver. So we got charged our Amex annual fee, and we wanted to call them and see if we can do anything about it. So Ari called. They said we can't do anything about it in January, but to call back in February to, check on the status of things and see if they're able to give us something in return. Follow up with Copilot, which is the app I used to track my daily expenses, to track our daily expenses. That was done, and we solved the problem there. Monthly $200 transfer to personal checking. That we didn't do because we decided we're actually not in a place to be like having individual spending amounts yet. And I think you'll see why as we like look at how much spending we're doing. So we didn't actually do those action items. So money on hand. So we broke down like all the money that we had available, with our travel funds, with the other sinking funds that we have, just so we could see what we were starting at. Then we broke down the income that we received, and we had some big upcoming expenses and some estimates for these expenses. So here you'll see our Japan trip, right? We're taking a honeymoon, and we had allotted $1,000 for our lodging. So that is something to think about here. That was something we were planning for anyway. The sister's trip, so I'm taking a sister's trip, and I wanted to account for some excursions and flights and have that be under $550, and then the Amex annual fee. So these were the big expenses we knew were coming up this month. And then the income split, we just didn't do that. It just didn't feel like we were at a place to be splitting our money to like spend as we want to. Of course, when we get jobs, we will be doing that. I think I want to make a whole separate video on how to manage your money, how to merge your finances with your partner, because that has been definitely something that we've talked about a lot. I think it is an interesting time to enter a new chapter in your life as a married couple, when you are both unemployed, when finances just aren't as great as they can be. So I think that deserves a whole video on how we've managed, what conversations we've had, because it has been a point in a lot of the arguments that we've had. And I say arguments, but there are conversations, and it's fine. It's fine. There are conversations, it's fine, but I think that people could benefit from hearing how we're doing it. So I don't know if I'll hide the deets from our actual expense tracker, but I want to look through all the categories and kind of walk through like why they were more than we expected. Now we're gonna like talk about what we actually spend money on that caused this big overspending month. And I think the big categories here are obviously travel. We had our miscellaneous. And I guess this is why I have this here, so we can see which categories were really high. We have travel. Travel was high. Miscellaneous was high. So maybe we'll take a look at those. For travel, we had a lot of flights to buy for future travel. So that's why this month it was super high in terms of what we spend for travel. It's because we were basically buying all the flights for the trips that we're taking later this year. So we have my trip to Amsterdam, which I really came up to. Let's look at it, because the tickets were $551. I paid for, or I used my card to buy 2 tickets minus the $251 in points. So my half of what we did for Amsterdam was actually $426. So under that $550 that I planned to spend on flights and excursions, although I didn't book any excursions for Amsterdam in January. So that was good. I have 2 here because I'm accounting for what my sister paid me back for, which is down here. We also traveled, and I don't have the Amex card. Ari has the Amex card, so we wanted to go to the lounge, and I paid $30 to enter. She gave us a deal actually, because it was supposed to be $50, but she marked me as a child. So thank you to that woman in Denver who helped us out. And then we booked our Japan trips, we booked our Japan hotels. So actually this stayed, let's just calculate what the sum of all of that amount, because I know we tried to be at 1,000, and I do not think that we stayed under 1,000. Ooh, so we spent $1,200 and some change to book our lodging in Japan, which for 10 days, I'm like, but it comes to like $120 a night. We could have done something way cheaper. There were some options, some hostels where like we'd be in separate rooms, but we opted to go over 1,000 because it is our honeymoon. We do want to be in the same room together. So we just weren't willing to be flexible and frugal in that we'd be staying at a hostel and sharing our rooms. We could have done that. I know there were cheaper options. I saw them, but we said, we're not doing that. So yeah, maybe that's something we should have been open to, but it's our honeymoon. So I'm going to let us have that. And last travel bit is we booked flights for Aruba. And this is a trip we're going on with Ari's family. And we were in full transparency. I'm going to share this, but we were going to book flights at a different date to be at the trip a little shorter than we wanted to, than the trip was planned for. But when, you know, Ari expressed this to his mom, you know, he was like, we're gonna book these flights. They're just within our budget. We're gonna do it. She decided that she'd rather us be there the whole time because it was just important for her to have us there the full time. And she said, I'll pay the difference of the tickets. And so the $840 that you see here is that like difference that she gifted us in order to buy the exact flights that she wanted us to buy. And so money is about being open and transparent, and we are so fortunate that she was in a position to gift us that. So thank you, Janet. That is why travel was so high. It is for total of 3 different trips that we are taking. So some of that money came out of the sinking funds, the Japan sinking fund. Some of that came out of Danielle's travel fund. So just something to keep in mind. Miscellaneous. I want to know, let's dig into the miscellaneous because we know the must pays are just like the monthly expenses that we have anyway. Miscellaneous. Okay. So first things first, and we'll probably see this again in February because I just booked all 9 races, or the remaining 7 races for the year. So we are looking good, on track for the 9+1 program. I've been on Reddit and they've been saying like, oh, you might want to overbook because if you get sick for one race and you can't do it, you don't want to be like last minute trying to like fill a race that you have to do in order to be able to run the 2025 marathon. So that's what you see here as a 140. Roadrunners is the organization that hosts this, the races that we're doing. So 140 for just like me signing up for races. $12. Ari is a hockey player, so he just did his blade sharpening. And then the biggest chunk here was that renewal, which we knew was coming up, but also always a sticker shock, especially when we are not working. We thought about whether it made sense for us to even have this credit card. We were going back and forth about, do we just downgrade this? Like, does it make sense for 2 people who aren't working to have a $695 credit card? So it's something we're still talking about. We do feel like it gives a lot of value to us. Like most of, or 50% of our ticket to Japan flights was covered by our points. So we do see a lot of justification for it, but it's a conversation we're still considering. And then the last piece here was just a miscellaneous Squarespace expense, which I already shared. So when you look at it, it's like, okay, not much that you can do here except maybe not have the card and stop the renewal ship so you don't keep paying for it. But yeah, those were the 2 categories maybe we wanted to dig into. But I guess we can look at food and just see, like, because I know we spend a lot of time talking about food and just seeing what happened here. So moving forward, I'm going to split the categories between groceries and eating out because I think it's important to see how they differ, right? Because if we overspend on groceries but still are spending a lot on eating out, then like we need to readjust our eating out and like maybe buy less groceries or whatever. So I think just labeling everything as food makes it a little confusing. But we did some door dashing early in the month. I mean, I think that makes sense. I feel like after the new year, we're like, we don't want to cook. So we door dashed. We went to the supermarket a lot. I got a Venmo for my sister because we went grocery shopping for her when she was away one weekend. But most of it is Trader Joe's. Most of it is ShopRite, which is the supermarket around us. And Greek is eating out. So Greek food is eating out. We ate out a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, which honestly is not bad, but we can do better. Which leads me to our discussion for February. That was January. Now, I've already sat with Ari. We've already kind of gone through this together. So you're seeing this fully completed, but it's still worth talking about. So money diaries. Looking ahead, what might impact our savings goals? Or I changed it for this month, actually. I said, what ahead might impact your stop overspending goals? Because I realized in January, I'm like, what the hell are we spending money on? Like, we need to get it together. And we have two things here: bachelor parties and dad's birthday. So we're done with my dad's birthday. You're gonna see a vlog about it on Friday, so you can see how we kind of prepared for that. Where do we want to challenge our spending this month? No spend week. That's also something I talk about in an upcoming vlog, but we are going on a no spend week with just essentials, just gas, train tickets, groceries, no eating out, necessary refills, and doctor copays as like what we're spending money on. What value do you want to focus on in your spending this month? Nothing monetary. Spend time, not dollars, with people we love. So again, going back to that, how can we spend time and not money and show people that we love in other ways? That's kind of something that we want to do this month. And I think already coming out of my dad's birthday weekend, I feel like we did a good job at this. So money on hand definitely shrunk. We're no longer at 10K. We have the 1,000 in the checking account, some cash we still have. Although at this point I put gas on the tank, so we really just have $50 in cash. Our travel fund for Japan obviously shrunk. My travel fund, I ended up not using the travel fund money for the flights and instead used money that we had in our Got It Covered fund. So maybe I'll just transfer some of that over. Ari still has his travel fund, and we have a much lower Got It Covered fund. So that's the money we have on hand. So far, unemployment, I have received $747, but actually also received, or gonna receive this week, another $747, but we'll do it I haven't received it yet, so maybe I'll receive it on Wednesday. And we are not doing income splitting, but big upcoming expenses. So there are a couple things we did not account for here that all have already come up, and you'll see that in my vlog. But the things that we did plan when we were starting this, we did this on the last day of January. So 12 days after we first did this, there were things that we didn't anticipate that came up that are not here. So I'm not gonna add them here. I'll just add them at the end. Big upcoming expenses. We have Ari's friend's bachelor party. So he has bachelor events this month. He also has bachelor events to pay for now for future months. So those are two things that are coming up that we need to take into account. I should have also put my dad's birthday in here. I don't know why we didn't do that, but that's kind of how we're seeing the month ahead. And then action items, I discussed this already, but we're looking at what we can do about the Peloton membership and to see if we can remove it while still getting some classes visible. My plan is much higher than it was when I first started it, which I guess happens over time. Like, I get it, price increases, but I want to know what I can do here. And then my other action item is just to split our food expenses between groceries and eating out. So that is what we have for like our big overview. Now let's look at the spending plan for February. Let's hide every other month because we are not there yet. So for February, again, same unemployment income I expect to have. Rent, all of this stays the same because it's calculating it from our personalized items, and in here is where we put like what the totals are. So it's really all just staying the same. I think what we want to look at is where we changed for our spending money plan. So we increased our transportation to $300. Something that I wanted to share that I didn't go into for transportation in January is every quarter we send a total of our tolls and everything that we spend money on to Ari's sister, who owns like the Easy Pass. So every 3 months we send her the big chunk of what we consumed. And that's what we saw in the transportation and why it was probably much higher. So in the future, I think we need to, maybe for April, account for a larger transportation bill. But for now, transportation is at $300. Food, we capped at $700 because we're trying to challenge ourselves. Personal care, we dropped it to $50. Something that I want to share that I realize I haven't yet is, as you saw, February, we were trying to reel it in. Like, what's happening? Why are we overspending? Where can we decrease our expenses? And so one of the big things that I did was remove my subscription or cancel my membership to Solid Core. I was paying about $322 a month, which was accounted for in personal care, and I'm no longer paying that. I feel like the mix of my half marathon training with really just our priorities financially just doesn't make sense for me right now to have my Solid Core membership, at least until we figure out what happens next for us financially. But I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. I was not upset to be like, I don't need this, let me remove it. That was a big saver in our just lowering our expenses. So that's why that is low this month. Healthcare, $100, because we realize, we're gonna have to pay something if we go to the doctor. Shopping, $50 again. Gifting, $60. Entertainment, $0. House related, $0. Travel, $500. And pet, $0. Miscellaneous, $100. So again, these are just like, maybe we'll do this. It could change. So already knowing how we did this, we don't have anything here for what we have plans for our, I guess, gifting. We are like, okay, it's going to be a little more, but it doesn't account for the actual things that we spent on groceries for my dad's birthday celebrations, which I'll talk more about in the upcoming vlog. But that is what we have for February. I think the biggest thing that we learned from January is we need to stop the overspending, because it's just hurting us in the long run. Yes, we have the savings. We can pull from the savings to pay for things. But in the end, if we deplete our savings, we don't have the savings that we want to have to be able to move out when we get our jobs. And it's not like we're going to get a job and immediately move out. No, but we still want to have those savings there so that we have more of an opportunity and we're able to make the moves that we want to make when we get full-time jobs. So February, we got a no spend week. Ari's first, our first as a couple, as a couple, actually. I'm not even gonna say as a married couple. As a couple, it's our first no spend week. And yeah, I don't know, I'm feeling good about February. I think even though January was a high expense month and it hurt a little bit, I know that it's not because we're just like spending with no thoughts in mind. Like, we are intentionally spending. It's just we need to be a little more like reminded of the fact that we don't have an unlimited amount of money to just like spend. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it's hard to make videos like this because you get a lot of judgment. I know in my Budget With Me video, somebody made a comment about how I am never retiring because I'm spending so much money. And so it's hard and difficult to share these numbers because you don't know what people are going to say in return and how people are going to judge you. But I do it because, one, I enjoy just keeping myself accountable and like looking at my numbers and reflecting on how I can improve. And two, I think it's helpful for people to see how another individual is managing their finances with their partner. So thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, if you want to see more videos on the first gen experience, on my journey to finding a job, then please hit subscribe, like this video, or share it with a friend. And I will see you next time. Bye.